It's that app that lives in pretty much everyone's pocket. You tap it, and boom, you're in this world of incredible photos, quick videos, and what look like perfect lives. But what's really going on behind the filters, behind those perfectly polished feeds? Well, there's a really fascinating and honestly pretty complicated story there. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on one of the most powerful social networks ever built. So here's what we're going to cover. How did a simple photo app blow up into a $1 billion giant? How did it end up changing not just what we post, but how we actually feel? We'll get into the mental health side of things, its role in some huge global controversies, and then we'll ask the big question: what's next for our feeds? All right, let's get right into it. To really get Instagram, you have to rewind back to 2010. We're in San Francisco, and a couple of developers have this idea that, well, it was about to change literally everything. What's wild is that Instagram didn't even start out as Instagram. Nope. It was first an app called Bourbon, which was all about checking into places, kind of like Foursquare. But the founders, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, they noticed something. The one feature people loved was sharing photos. So they made a huge bet. They stripped everything out, focused only on photos, renamed it Instagram, and relaunched. The result? It was immediate. 1 million users in just 2 months. It wasn't just growth. It was a rocket ship. Now, that kind of explosion definitely turns heads, especially in Silicon Valley. The company started out with a respectable $500,000 in seed money, but less than 2 years later, a certain giant came knocking. And that giant, it made them an offer they just couldn't refuse. $1 billion. Just like that sink in. We're talking 2012. This number was just mind-blowing for a tiny company that had only 13 employees and wasn't making a dime in revenue. Facebook basically saw a new threat on the horizon and decided it was way easier to buy it than to try and compete with it. And that one move, it would define the entire next decade of social media. And this was the big promise from Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, right when the deal was announced. The whole idea was, hey, we're going to let Instagram be Instagram, keep its own vibe, its own culture. But, as we're about to see, being part of the Facebook empire would end up completely reshaping the app in ways both good and not so good. So what happened to that promise to keep things independent? Well, once it was under Facebook's roof, Instagram started to change. It went from that simple, beloved photo app to this multi-headed social media beast, usually by just straight up copying the best features of its rivals. Back in 2016, Snapchat was the absolute king of content that disappears. So, what did Instagram do? They rolled out Stories. I mean, it was almost a direct clone of Snapchat's main thing, and it completely changed how people used Instagram. Suddenly, it wasn't just about posting that one perfect photo anymore. Now you could share all the messy, casual, behind-the-scenes moments from your day. And it was a massive, massive hit. It blew right past Snapchat's user numbers. And then, guess what? History pretty much repeated itself in 2020. TikTok was exploding, just taking over the world, and Instagram pivoted hard, this time to short-form video. And that's how we got Reels. This was a huge strategic shift, what a lot of people call the TikTokification of Instagram. It started prioritizing these algorithm-fed videos over the simple photos from your friends that the app was built on in the first place. But maybe the most controversial change of them all came back in 2016. That's when Instagram killed the chronological feed. Remember that? When you just saw posts in the order they happened? Well, that was gone. A new algorithm took over, deciding what it thought you wanted to see. People were furious, but the change stuck. It was a really fundamental shift of control, away from you, the user, and over to the platform. Okay, so all of this crazy growth and constant change, it came with a price, a hidden cost. As Instagram got bigger and bigger in our lives, researchers, and yeah, even the folks at Instagram itself, started asking some really tough questions about what it was doing to our well-being. Then, in 2021, the Wall Street Journal dropped a bombshell. They published all this leaked internal research from Facebook, which is now Meta, of course, and these documents showed that the company knew they were very aware of the harm their platform could be causing, especially to their youngest users. And what they found, it was pretty stark. Now, at first glance, Meta's own data here looks a little mixed. You see that 40% of teens actually felt better about themselves, and another 40% felt no change. But, and this is the really crucial part, look at that other slice. For 1 in 5 teens, that's 20%, the app was actively making them feel worse about themselves. And when the researchers dug in a little deeper, they pinpointed a major problem. When it came to comparing yourself to others, especially around your looks and body image, Meta's own research found that Instagram was worse than its biggest competitors, TikTok and Snapchat. It seems like the super visual, image-first nature of the platform just cranked up all those pressures. And listen, this wasn't just some one-off finding inside Meta. There's a huge and growing body of outside research that has consistently connected heavy Instagram use with all sorts of mental health challenges. We're talking everything from anxiety and depression fueled by that constant comparison to that nagging fear of missing out, or FOMO. It seems the platform's design can create a kind of perfect storm for users who are already vulnerable. But Instagram's influence goes way beyond our personal psychology. I mean, with over 1 billion users, it's basically become a massive and often very contested global stage for communication, for activism, and for political debate. Because it's so powerful at spreading images and information so quickly, Instagram has become a prime target for governments trying to control the narrative. You see a pattern here? During moments of political unrest, whether it was the protests in Hong Kong or more recently in Iran, one of the first things the state does is try to block access to the platform. It's a clear attempt to shut down the flow of images and information to the rest of the world. And even in places where it isn't outright blocked, Instagram is always wrestling with these super complex moderation issues. It gets heat from all sides for what it chooses to take down or what it chooses to leave up. You've got everything from the debates around nudity with the hashtag #FreeTheNipple campaign to accusations that it's censoring political content. Honestly, trying to moderate content for billions of people with totally different cultural norms, it's a digital balancing act with no easy answers. So, with all this criticism piling up about mental health, about those unpopular changes to the app, Instagram had to do something. They were forced to react. So what exactly is the company doing about it, and what does it tell us about where things are going?
Well, they started to make some moves. They tested hiding like counts to try and take some of the pressure off. They brought in new tools to help you filter out abusive comments and DMs. And remember that massive user revolt in 2022, led by people like Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner, who were fed up with the TikTok-style feed? Well, the company actually backed down and reversed some of those changes. And then in 2023, they went on offense, launching Threads to take a swing at a very chaotic Twitter.
All of these changes, they show a company that's trying to walk this tightrope between its own relentless growth and the well-being of its users. But it really leaves us with this one fundamental question. As Instagram keeps changing, are these fixes from the top down really enough to solve the problems the platform helped create? Or does the real power actually lie with us to change our own relationship with that filtered reality we hold in our hands?